Level 1, the curious seeker. You find it on a forum post. Someone claims they know the truth. They say the world is managed. They say nothing happens by accident. You read the whole thread twice. Something in it hooks you deep. You tell yourself it's just research. You tell yourself you're just curious. That's what everyone tells themselves first. The screen glows blue in darkness. It's 2 o'clock in the morning already. Your coffee went cold an hour ago. You drink it anyway without thinking. Outside, the city hums its usual hum. Inside, something has shifted without warning. You start clicking through linked documents. You copy URLs into a private folder. You label the folder something innocent looking. Nobody knows what you're really doing. They call this the awakening phase. That means you've just been noticed. Not by police or by governments, by something older and more patient. The algorithm feeds you another article, then another after that. Each one goes slightly further in. Each one makes the last seem tame. You learn the symbol first, the I. It appears on American dollar bills. It appears on corporate logos, too. It appears in old paintings often. You start seeing it everywhere now. That's not coincidence, and you sense it. Or maybe it is, and you're unsure. That uncertainty is exactly the point. There are 12 million results online. Most of them are planted deliberately. You won't know which ones until later. Right now, you trust all of them. You screenshot 30 pages in one night. Your hands are cold from typing. Your eyes ache, but you continue anyway. Something feels urgent without explanation. You submit a contact form online. It looks like a philosophy newsletter. You don't expect a reply at all. 3 days pass without a single response. Then a week of complete silence. Then on day 12, something arrives. The email has no signature attached. It has no sender name listed. Just a single question waits inside it. It asks, "What are you looking for?" Level 2, the initiate prospect. You write back within 5 minutes. You try to sound measured and calm. Inside, your pulse is going fast. They respond within 1 hour exactly. The timing feels deliberate and precise. You notice the timing but say nothing. The emails continue for 3 weeks. They never ask for money directly. They never make outrageous claims up front. They speak in careful layered riddles. You feel yourself decoding each one. You feel chosen without being told so. That feeling is manufactured entirely for you. You won't realize that until much later. They invite you to a reading group. It meets in a rented office space. The building is generic and forgettable. The carpet is gray and slightly worn. There are 9 other people present. They all look completely ordinary to you. An accountant sits beside a school teacher. A software engineer takes notes in pencil. You expected robes, and you find khakis. They call this a cell meeting. That means your first real contact. You share first names and nothing more. Nobody asks where you work or live. The conversation covers history and philosophy. Someone mentions Freemasonry in passing once. Someone else mentions the Federal Reserve quietly. The moderator steers things with quiet precision. You notice his calm and want it. The first test comes in week 2. They ask you to keep a journal, not a diary, a surveillance log. You record what you observe each day. Who talks to whom on your street? What delivery vehicles arrive repeatedly nearby? Which neighbors follow unusual daily patterns? You tell yourself it's just mindfulness practice. That is what they intend you to think. You submit your first journal on Friday. Someone reads it by Saturday morning already. Sunday you get a short reply back. It says you notice things well. For words, and you feel proud. That pride is your first leash. You don't feel it tighten at all. Level 3, the vetted candidate. They send you a dossier to study. It arrives as an encrypted PDF file. The password is sent via separate channel. You learn about Pythagoras and his brotherhood. You learn about medieval guild systems, too. You learn about the Rosicrucians. After that, each section builds quietly on the last. By page 40, the frame has shifted. The world no longer looks the same. The reading group gets smaller now. 9 became 6 without any announcement made. Nobody mentions the 3 who disappeared. You don't ask because you sense it. Asking would mark you as uncertain. Uncertainty marks you as a liability here. You learn. Silence is the first skill. They call this vetting in layers. That means they peel away weak candidates. You are still here, and that matters. You sit straighter, knowing only 3 remain. The moderator notices your posture and nods. That nod costs you nothing today. It will cost you later in full. You are given a new assignment now. You must attend a public lecture series. The lectures are on behavioral economics officially. Unofficially, you are there to recruit, not to recruit in any obvious way. Just to identify one promising individual, someone intelligent but slightly dissatisfied with life. Someone who asks questions others avoid asking. You know the type because you were it. You find her by the 3rd lecture. She sits in the front row always. She argues with the professor twice confidently. She eats lunch alone and reads journals. You introduce yourself as a graduate researcher. That is not technically a lie told. It is what they trained you to call yourself. She accepts coffee and talks for hours. You listen more than you speak deliberately. By week's end, she trusts you completely. You write her name in your report. You feel almost nothing writing her name down. That almost is worth paying attention to. Level 4, the sworn member. The ceremony is not what you imagined. There are no candles or marble floors. No ancient chanting fills the cold room. It happens in a private dining room. The wallpaper is dark green and dated. The lighting is low, but not dramatic. 8 people stand in a rough circle. You are the newest, and you know it. You take an oath of confidentiality first. It is specific and legally structured carefully. You realize it was drafted by lawyers. Real lawyers who know real consequences well. The oath mentions discretion 47 times total. You count them while reciting each word. Counting gives your hands something to do. Your hands won't stop their quiet trembling. They call the oath binding silence. That means consequences if you ever speak. The man to your left is a judge. The woman across from you runs a hospital. The person beside her manages public school curriculum. These are not shadowy figures and cloaks. These are people who shape your daily life. That realization lands harder than you expected. You feel the weight of it physically. It settles into your shoulders like stone. You are now assigned a mentor figure. He is 53 and speaks very little. He orders black coffee and never finishes it. He meets you every Tuesday at noon. The restaurant is always the same one. You always sit at the same table. Same seats, same order, same silence first. Then he talks, and you write nothing down. You're expected to remember everything said. By week 3, your memory improves measurably. Your first real task arrives in March. A city council vote is happening soon. One council member is undecided on it. You know his daughter from university circles. You are asked to have a conversation, not to bribe and not to threaten, just to plan a particular perspective carefully. You meet her for drinks on Thursday. You mention the vote, once very casually. She mentions it to her father Saturday. He votes the way the group needed. You never touch the vote yourself directly. That distinction will matter to you later. Right now, it just feels like networking. Level 5, the active operator. You've been active for 18 months. The work has changed shape significantly now. It is no longer about reading groups. It is no longer about philosophy discussions either. You move between 3 different professional identities. One identity is your real public name. The second is a consulting firm online. The third has no paper trail at all. Your mentor calls this your operational skin. That means the face the work wears. You travel for the first time now. The first city is Zurich in February. The hotel is mid-range and unremarkable. You pay cash for the minibar items. Not because they told you to exactly, but because you've started thinking that way. The instinct arrived before the instruction did. That tells you something about yourself. Now you attend a private dinner of 14. The guests represent 5 different countries' interests. You are there to observe and map, not to map geography and to map relationships. Who defers to whom around the table? Who speaks and who only watches quietly? Who laughs when the host laughs first? You write it all from memory later. Your report is 4 pages of pure observation. Your mentor says it's the best he's received. You feel proud and then immediately suspicious. Compliments here are tools, not rewards. The moral weight arrives without warning. One night, you are given a financial routing document. It is 19 pages and fully encrypted. You are to pass it to someone. Not read it, just pass it forward. But you read it on the train anyway. It takes you 11 minutes to understand it. When you understand it, your stomach drops hard. The document rewrote public health care funding away from a rural district in Portugal. The district serves 40,000 people daily. Those people will notice reduced services next year. They will not know why this happened. Nobody will ever tell them the reason. You pass the document as instructed that evening. You sit very still on the train home. The city lights blur past the window. You pour a drink when you arrive home. You pour a second one immediately after. Level 6, the Inner Circle Liaison. 3 years have passed since your oath. You barely recognize your schedule from before. You wake at 5 without an alarm. You check 3 encrypted apps before breakfast. You keep 2 phones in separate pockets. Your family thinks you travel for consulting work. That is what your tax records show too. You have become the cover story yourself. They call you a liaison now officially. That means you bridge 2 power structures. One structure is visible and publicly documented. The other has no name anyone admits to. Your job is to keep them aligned. When they drift, you create a correction. Sometimes the correction is a conversation only. Sometimes the correction is more than conversation. You have learned not to ask for specifics. The Inner Circle has 7 permanent members. You have seen 5 of their faces. 2 are voices on encrypted calls only. One of those voices belongs to someone famous. You recognize the cadence but say nothing. Recognizing and acknowledging are 2 separate things here. You learned that difference in year 2. Your first crisis arrives in early autumn. A journalist in Warsaw has connected dots. Not all the dots and not correctly, but enough dots to cause a problem. You are given a background file on him. His name is Mark and he has children. That detail is in the file deliberately. You understand why it is included there. You are not asked to harm anyone. You are asked to discredit the story. You are given 3 specific tools to use. The first tool is a financial irregularity. The irregularity in Mark's past is real. It was minor and it was old, but surfaced at the right time. It stings. The story dies within 11 days total. Mark loses his platform at the publication. He finds work eventually at a smaller outlet. You track him for 6 more months. He never returns to the original story again. You close the file, without ceremony at all. You notice you feel nothing while doing it. That absence of feeling concerns you briefly. Then you close that feeling like a file. Level 7, the Shadow Architect. 5 years in, and the title changes. You are no longer a liaison officially. You are now a shadow architect instead. That means you design the outcomes first. Others execute them without knowing the full picture. You draw the map but never walk it. At least that is what you tell yourself. Your workspace has moved 3 times already. The current one is underground and climate controlled. Not literally underground. It's basement level only, but there are no windows and no sounds. The hum of servers fills the silence. You spend 14 hours here most days. There's a cot along the eastern wall. You have slept on it more than once. You now oversee a network of 11 operators. You know them by code, names only assigned here. Cobalt, Finch, Dresden, Lark, and 7 more. Each one knows their task and nothing else. That's called compartmentalization, and it is crucial. It means each person holds one puzzle piece. Nobody holds the full picture but you, and you only hold the current layer. The moral weight here is architectural. Now you don't just carry out one compromise. You design systems that carry out thousands, and one decision you make in a Tuesday meeting. It adjusts immigration policy in 3 nations. 40,000 people will be rerouted in response. Most will survive it with minimal disruption. Some will not survive it that cleanly. You know this when you sign the brief. You sign it with your third identity's name. The pen is a cheap ballpoint from a hotel. Your signature looks calm, and it is practiced. Inside, something that used to resist has gone quiet. You're not sure exactly when it left. Your personal relationships have thinned to near nothing. Your sister calls you every few months now. The calls last 9 minutes on average exactly. You count because counting is what you do. She says you sound different from before. You say it's just work stress, nothing more. She says she misses the old version of you. You say that version wasn't accurate anyway. That night you sit with that sentence. You meant it to sound strong and resolved. Instead, it sounds like something you've lost. Level 8, the Keeper of Records. You are handed a physical key on Tuesday. It opens a room in a private archive. The archive sits beneath a law firm in Geneva. The law firm has operated since 1891. The room has no digital presence anywhere. Everything inside it is on paper only. The paper smells of cedar and cold air. There are 47 file boxes on the shelves. Each box represents a decade of operations. Each operation has a name and a number. Each number corresponds to a living person or a person who was once living. That distinction is made in pencil, not ink. You understand what pencil means in this archive. Pencil means the status is still being determined. Ink means the matter's concluded permanently. They call this the ledger of influence. That means a record of every controlled outcome. Not crimes. Nothing in this room says crime. It says outcomes, adjustments, realignments, and transitions. The language is surgical and entirely bloodless. The reality described is not bloodless at all. You read for 6 hours on the first day. You read about elections in 4 separate countries. You read about 3 corporate mergers in detail. You read about a famine relief delay in '89. The delay cost 11 weeks of distribution. You do the math and feel sick. You do it again hoping you miscalculated. You did not miscalculate anything at all. Your predecessor in this role lasted 9 years. He retired to a property in rural Tuscany. He does not give interviews or public talks. He does not use social media of any kind. He is a dog, a garden, and silence. You were shown a photograph of him once. He looked at peace, and you envied that. Then you noticed his eyes in the photo. His eyes looked like yours do now, like someone who stopped expecting to sleep fully, like someone who traded something real for safety. You put the photograph face down on the desk. Your health begins to shift in small ways. You develop a persistent ringing in both ears. The doctor says it is stress-related tinnitus. She asks what you do for work. You give her the consulting answer. She recommends meditation and reduced screen time. You nod and fill the prescription on the way home. You do not reduce your screen time at all. Level 9. The voice of the council. 9 years have passed since the reading group. You are 41 years old this autumn. You sit at the table now as a voice, not a messenger. You speak for the council. When you speak, policy decisions follow afterward, not always immediately and not always visibly, but the chain from your words to outcomes. That chain is now short and very reliable. The council meets 4 times per year exactly. The location changes each time by design. Once in a private estate outside of Edinburgh. Once on a vessel in international waters. Once in a building with no registered address. Once through a system you still don't fully understand. The voices on that last call sound compressed like they're coming from somewhere very far down. You've learned not to think about that call. You have ordered the removal of 2 people. Not removal as in you stopped yourself once here. Removal means their access has been revoked permanently. Their platforms were dismantled. Their funding was cut. Their credibility was quietly and methodically dissolved. Both of them are still alive and well. You remind yourself of that sometimes on bad nights. On bad nights, the reminder does not land. The thing they never mention in any document, the thing that never appears in any briefing is that power at this level feels hollow. You expected it to feel like control and clarity. It feels like standing in an empty cathedral. The architecture is enormous and deeply impressive, but you're the only one inside it. And the echo of your footsteps sounds too loud. And the silence between the echoes is enormous. A young man is brought to meet you. He's 28 and sharp and deeply hungry. He reminds you of someone specific and familiar. He reminds you of yourself at his exact age. He asks what the work is really about. You look at him for a long moment. You give him the answer you were given once, about order, about preservation, about the longer arc. He leans forward, and his eyes go bright, the same brightness yours had on that night. You wonder if you should say something else. You say nothing else, and he goes home. You understand now what your mentor felt, that you were always the crop, not the gardener. The gardener never introduces himself as gardener. Level 10, the nameless authority. You have no title inside any document now. Your name appears in no organizational structure anywhere. The people you influence have never met you. Most of them don't know you exist at all. You operate at the level of pure architecture. The decisions you shape are felt in statistics, in mortality rates, in migration data, in election margins, in the fine print of trade agreements, mostly in the half-sentences buried in policy addendums. Nobody reads those sentences except people like you. You are 61 years old this winter. Your hair went gray in year 14 quietly. You noticed it on a Tuesday and moved on. Your apartment is clean and deliberately minimal. One painting on the wall, no photographs displayed. Photographs create questions you no longer have energy for. You have one contact still from before all this. A man from university who restores old boats. He calls you twice a year without fail. He talks about wood grain and sea weather. You listen and say almost nothing in return. Those 12 minutes are the most honest of your year. They gave you a final designation last spring. Not a title, a function description only. They call it the standing watcher position. That means you observe the system as a whole. You flag instabilities before they become visible crises. You have done this for 22 full years. You're very good at seeing instabilities now. You're also very good at seeing nothing else. What the system took, it did not take loudly. It did not arrive with an ultimatum or a threat. It arrived with a journal assignment in week 2. It arrived with a nod across a table. It arrived with a document on a train. It arrived with a signature on a brief. It arrived one Tuesday at a time. One compromise so small it barely registered. Then another small one the following week. Then another that felt slightly less small. Then one that you actively did not think about. Then one you signed while looking at the window. Then years of them you can no longer separate. You sit in the archive room alone tonight. The cedar smell is familiar like a language. You pull file box number 11 from the shelf. It covers 1963 to 1971. You have read it 4 times before tonight. You read it again because you need reminding not of what they did in those years. You need reminding that someone made each decision. That each signature belonged to a real person. That each person started somewhere like a forum post. That each person thought they were the exception. That none of them were the exception. That you're not the exception either. You put the box back before midnight. You take the elevator up to street level. The city is cold and indifferent and alive. You walk 2 blocks and hail a cab. The driver asks how your evening was tonight. You say quiet and he nods and drives. You watch the city pass the window. You have shaped parts of the city. It does not know you and never will. You are not sure which feeling that is. Somewhere across the city, a screen glows blue. Someone is reading a forum post right now. It's 2 in the morning on their end. Their coffee is getting cold beside them. They're reading about the eye on the dollar. They're reading about things that happen by design. Something in the thread is hooking them deeply. They tell themselves they're just doing research. They open a private folder on their desktop. They call it something that sounds completely innocent. They feel the pull of something large and patient. They think they are the one who found it. They think this is discovery and not recruitment. They think of James Bond. They think of Bourne. They think of power held in elegant hands. They think this is the beginning of knowing. They do not know what knowing costs eventually. They do not know what is already watching them. They do not know they are already inside it. They type a message into a contact form. They hit send and feel immediately electrically alive. You were that person once on that night. You remember the blue glow, the cold coffee. You remember how real the hunger felt then. The cycle begins again.